Hello and good evening. I hope everyone is doing great. I'm Navneeta Nandan. Welcome you all today at Ad Adda, the fourth edition. We have with us now a very inspiring personality. She's a professor at MICA, an influencer in real sense, a TEDx speaker, a fashion blogger, someone who has worked extensively towards body positivity, gender equality, and has broken the stereotypes of society. She's someone who does not follow trends but creates them. If I have to describe her in one line, I'd say an achiever par excellence. She is none other than Dr. Falguni Vasavada.
Hi, thank you for that wonderful introduction.
So happy to have you here. I'd like to call
Same
upon
here.
Mansi ma'am to continue with this session.
Thank you, Navneeta. Welcome, ma'am. So let's begin with the Adda, as we say here, around media,
Yes,
marketing, communications, and of course, body positivity. Ma'am, your
yes.
extensive efforts and initiative with the work on positivity and reaching out to people with the message that people should embrace themselves as they are. My first question to you would be that body positivity is often seen as an escape from fitness, and there are various interpretations of the word body positivity. So, could you throw some light on that? And why do you think that it took so long to create a buzz in the media about this subject?
Yeah, so first things first, let us start by understanding what is body positivity and what is the real, meaning behind this movement. So, body positivity started as a movement to make fat women accept their bodies more holistically because there was a narrative of what means to be beautiful or what is perfect beauty created by media and popular culture. And when I say media and popular culture, it would mean advertising, it would mean films, the portrayal of women in all these media lenses, which had led to a very wrong artificial representation of what beauty means. And hence, body positivity said that please accept yourselves even if you are of a different body type. And it started with fat women, but now we have come a long way. So it started for fat women to be more accepting of how they look, who they are, not losing their confidence just because they are not size zero or they're not like perfectly cowed as shown on television, photoshopped in ads, photo editing done in films. But then now, as I said, we have come a long way. We are talking about body insecurity. So, body positivity as a movement today says that whichever body type you are, whichever skin type you are, whichever hair type you have, you are much more than your body, and hence if even if you don't fit into the perfect definition of beauty as wrongly given by media, culture, and society, you should be proud about who you are and you have to rise above how you look and what your body is. So that's the whole movement. Okay, now fitness you were talking about as a keyword, if I take it, it does, is it important only for fat people? Fitness is important for everybody on earth. Does it also mean that thin people are naturally fit? No. Everybody has to work towards fitness, right? So, fitness is a very different zone. It talks about healthy lifestyles, healthy eating habits, having a very routine, exercise regime in your life so that you remain healthy and fit. And that is important for every body type, not only fat men and women or dark men and women or tall or short or thin. It's for everybody. Now, the third part of your question was why did it take so long? It took so long because we did not have social media in the 1960s. Like everything goes viral today, we have more platforms to express our opinions. We have more platforms to go vocal. Like today, for example, you all students get together and you want to write a blog. Today, it's possible, right? In let us say 1960s and 70s, maybe you could write a paper, you could send it to a journal. It will take 1 year for the whole journal to accept it, review it, and send it back to you for rework. So that is a long process. Today, multiple platforms are available, and there is a easy access of these platforms, and it is all thanks to social media that the message is going out loud and clear, and there are more women and men like me who are representing the real view of what you should be concentrating on, rather than waking up every day with a lot of insecurity and unhappiness in your mind. What can happiness and contentment with your body do to you, and what wonders can it create? So I think it's thanks to social media that now it is going farther ahead and it is reaching more people the way it should.
Ma'am, you spoke about social media. So, do you think that that individuality which social media provides for is helping to boost this idea about and around body positivity?
So please remember that nobody can give you individuality. Only you can give individuality to yourself. So no social media can give you identity. No social media can give you individuality. It can amplify it. Okay. So I have to build up my own identity. I have to do work around my individuality. And that hard work, when now I am posting on social media will amplify my reach. It will make take my ideas to more number of people, right? So it does amplification. Okay. And hence I'm saying that yes, social media is a potent tool, not only for brands but also for personal brands, also for influencers, also for young people like you all, students of this institution, to make your thoughts go to more number of people, to help you reach a better audience.
Well, ma'am, moving on to the next question, since we're talking about media, social media, and all of that. So, moving on to advertisements. So, looking at the Indian media scenario, do you think there is adequate representation of this idea, or you would say that there is a pseudo representation or a false buzz around body positivity?
There is absolutely no representation of real women in advertising. First, let me say that. And after I'm saying this, let me quote from the recent Dove research that they did. Dove says that 70% of women feel that they are not getting represented in advertising and media, right? So there is absolute weak representation of women from all walks of life, women of all type, because again we are so narrowly focused on the idea of beauty that we also put talent as secondary and the perfection of beauty as number one. Just to give you an example, there may be a plus size actor who is so talented, but believe you me and mark my words, she will never bag the main leading actor's role. She'll be shown as the hero's sister, or she'll become the actress's best friend. She's the best in terms of her talent, but her body structure does not make it possible for her to become the lead actor of the film. Similarly, we go to advertising, you see a very artificial portrayal of men and women, both in fact. But because we are talking about fashion industry, it has been more biased towards women. Hence, I'm referring women more here. But it's men and women both, right? So nobody wakes up so beautiful. Nobody wakes up from coma after 30 years with the perfect eyebrows than what you have right now or what I have right now, right? No mother of two children would be having this flawless skin, right? No teenager will be pimple free. So of course we are not representing what we see in real life, and that's where the mismatch is. But because I know there are many young students who are listening to me, I need to make this point that still we become so stupid and we go by the narrative, the artificial version presented by TV and films, and oh my god, we feel very insecure when the first pimple pops up, when our skin develops freckles, when there is some white hair in a 45-year-old's hair growth. We become very insecure just because there is some fake representation that is ruling our lives. It is insane. It is a very, very sorry state of affairs. So media and advertising do not represent women and men at large. They are not representative of men and women whom we see around us on a daily basis. And it's a very, very artificial representation. I will say there are only one or two brands that I can recall who like represent real men and women. Most of them, the other brands, use brush strokes, use lots of photoshops, use a lot of editing, right? Use a lot of latest edit features to show you the perfect, body, the perfect hair, the perfect skin, and oh my god, nothing else matters, but everything is flawless. So it's very artificial, it's tokenism. It's not, I would not say even pseudo representation, because when I say pseudo, that means there is some representation, no? So it's completely artificial.
Mhm.
Again, let me reiterate my point because it's very important. Still, we fall in for these narratives and feel bad about our own self. Now, who is to be said sorry to? First thing tonight, you have to say sorry to yourself, because you are getting married to an idea which is being sold to you by media, by advertising, by films, by popular culture, which is far from reality, right? Sorry, I get a little agitated and emotional when I talk about body security and what body insecurity can do in young girls. I know that. That's why I feel very bad.
Is a very pressing issue. And taking the conversation forward, ma'am, since we're talking about, zero representation of the
Yeah.
real world and real people in advertisements. There are advertisements like, international advertisements like the Dove's Beauty on Your Own Terms advertisement, for example, H&M 2016 advertisement.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, what do you think that these roles, these advertisements, do they actually play a role in changing this narrative?
Yes. Of course, at least they are raising eyebrows. At least they are making some change. See, so there is a situation. I will say that, oh, all fashion bloggers blogging on Instagram are so size zero. What will one fat woman like me? What difference will I make? But the option is that even if I make 0.01% difference, right? Somewhere we have to start, right? Somewhere the whole radical journey starts with the first step. So baby steps are important, and these brands are proving to be thought leaders in their spaces. It is to their advantage. They are getting a lot of benefit, because don't think that Dow is very socially conscious. They love women, they don't want women to be insecure, hence they are doing this. No, of course not. They see a very good profitable opportunity in the new age women to talk about these issues. But because they are talking something radical and something different, right, where they are talking about disability, they are talking about black skin, they're talking about negroes, they're talking about hair loss issues in women at a younger age, hormonal changes, and your chin hair, they're talking about all this. So they are, of course, they are the front runners. The world will remember them as historical brands. Definitely, 20 years from now, when maybe I'm praying with my fingers crossed, maybe representation of all women would have become very normal. These brands will be remembered as the torch bearers. They started the whole fight. So definitely, and it's risky also, right, to be innovative and say something which is totally different. It's not risk free. So 100% full marks to them.
Over
Mom,
to you, Navneeta.
Mom, speaking about advertisements for ads that have taglines like "Men will be men," don't you think that sends a wrong message to everyone? And if it does, how is it
Yes,
still surviving?
it definitely gives a wrong message. I agree to that. But see, advertising also is a creative expression of thought. Okay. So when you say creative expression, a little bit of satire, a little bit of humor, a little bit of sarcasm is allowed. Otherwise, we have recently seen the interfaith ad of Tanishq, which was being boycotted, and there was a huge uproar before 2 days, and the company had to withdraw. They got lot many threats. So any economy or environment or culture cannot survive on the boycott culture or the cancel culture, right? So the men will be men kind of ads which you see are little bit more towards the sarcasm side, little bit more towards the humor side. But yes, that's where it becomes a fine line. So the brand will have to be very careful that humor should not become dark humor. Okay, or sarcasm should not become something which hurts people's sentiments, or them justifying, let us say, a rape culture, for example, right, or the culture of eve teasing, for example. Also, they will have to be very, very sensitive to the current environment in which the brand operates, because let us say the Hathras case happened, the nearby Hathras in another village, another case happened, right? Now those times pay, they will have to go through a lot of censorship. They might have to withdraw their advertising. So it becomes very contextual as well. But since I've seen the entire series of Men Will Be Men kind of ads, right? They bend towards a little bit more creative, sarcastic take on life. Yeah, but it's risky.
Definitely, ma'am. Ma'am, what is the role of brands and the role of the said individual in changing the meaning of normal body type, and that journey from external validation to internal validation? How is that set?
Okay, so both have a role to play. Okay, so have you heard of this proverb that you can take the horse to drink water, but you
Yes.
cannot force the horse to drink? Okay, so the drinking has to be done by the individual, but because brands are bigger than individuals, they can play a very good role in reshaping this narrative. They can challenge the norm, they can challenge the stereotype, they can challenge the biases, they can challenge the judgment, the mental conditioning that people have. And that's why brands are on a higher power position. So they definitely have a big role to play. But the journey from being body insecure to being body positive starts from within. We will have to take baby steps where we become so confident about who we are, where we understand that, oh, do I want to reduce myself to a fat body, a thin body, a black skin, or a white skin, or do I want to grow above all this, right? Do I want to become somebody better in my own domain, in my own career, in my own, area of expertise? The moment you rise above all this is when your need for external validation will stop. So it's not a one day process, okay? It's a journey. It takes a few years for you to understand that. But the first step starts by recognizing that what you are praising as the perfect body type is an artificially created version, and you are much more than your body. Have these two thoughts in your mind married together tonight, and then from tomorrow your journey starts.
Over to you, Mansi, ma'am.
That's indeed a very important tip for all the young girls out here. Why just girls, even the young boys out here?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, yes. So, ma'am, my next question to you would be that we've been talking about body positivity. So, and you worked extensively on rural and urban marketing. So, do you think that this entire thing about body shaming is a very urban phenomenon? Is it?
It is more of an urban phenomenon because we are more in the urban areas affected by media and culture, no, popular culture. So we have more films, we have more television. Today we have more Netflix, right? We have more Amazon Primes of the world, we have more YouTubes of the world. So hence our exposure towards popular culture and media is more than rural, and hence we face it more. We face the heat more. The scrutiny is a little higher.
Ma'am,
Yes.
talking about you, you have been a very inspiring personality for many of us. When did you decide that you won't let the society standards define you, and how do you deal with situations when doubts creep in again?
So, see, firstly, once you become very confident about who you are and you become a strong individual mentally, there will be no doubts. Okay. Doubts, in the sense, challenges come across in everybody's life, and there will be highs and lows in everybody's life. It's normal. It's very normal for any individual to face that. But for me, I think the journey started with, of course, my post graduation, my global travels, my financial independence, right? The more number of people I met, the more cultures that I got exposed to. I saw different countries and their cultures, and I understood that, oh, only in India we can joke on anybody's body. yeah, and laugh on anybody's, skin color, body type, frame type, and then just snidely say that, oh, I was joking, don't feel bad. So in there was cultures where I got exposed to where it was extremely rude to even comment on somebody's height as a compliment. You should not be even giving it as a compliment, because that meant that, oh, you are focusing still on the physical representation of that person. So the more I read, the more I got educated, the more I got, also financial independence plays a big role because it gives you a lot of confidence. And I was always a scholastic person. I have 2 gold medals, right? But there were people, society around me, who was refraining from seeing that, but they were preferring to see how I looked and how fat I was and how I was different from the other young girls in my class. So then, dhire dhire, I think the prioritization starts, and you start understanding what is more important to you. What is more important to you is building your identity, growing in your career, growing in your finances, and getting more and more financial independence, having a good partner who understanding equality around, broadening your perspective is also plays a key role. Because see, most of us are born and brought up in a particular place, in one place. The more you travel, the more you meet people from different cultures, regions, ethnicities. That's the power of diversity, okay? And that gives you a lot of exposure and education and develops you and your perspectives as well. Because there was a time when even I was judgmental, right? Because of my narrowness of my exposure. The more broad the exposure becomes, you also become judgment free. You also understand where you were wrong in questioning that person or joking on somebody's dark skin. That was also wrong. So I think it's a very very evolution driven process. But if I have to tell you, I think somewhere in my early 30s was when I had this nirvana moment where I said, I have to express myself fully, because Falguni is not limited to a fat body, a salwar kameez draped with a big dupatta around her body as if it was a crime, with a tight ponytail tied onto her face, wherein deep down she loved fashion, right? So I think that's when I started experimenting with my hair, my clothes, and then there was no looking back. At the age of 40, I wore my first frock and I wrote my first fashion blog. And people were like gaga about it, because I had a good fashion sense, but somewhere deep down, it was hidden. I was not finding that confidence to, come out as a fashion or a stylish person or a fashionista, as I call myself now. Yeah. So,
And now you're motivating people to do the same.
yes, because I don't want them to start in their 30s. I want
Right.
everybody to become confident in their 15-year-old, 12-year-olds, their teenage years. I want them to start early and live life.
Definitely.
You're truly an inspiration, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, so now we open the floor for audience questions, and
Sure.
we have the first question here from Anvesha Singha. She asks that why is body positivity important for mental health? Are gender traits a product of social expectations?
Of course, so see, body positivity gives you a lot of body security. You are proud of who you are. When you are body positive, you are secure in your body, you are comfortable in your skin, you stop comparing yourself with others, and you try improving yourself day by day as a human being. Okay. Now, what else can give you mental peace but this? So, the more secure you are, the more powerfully confident you are about who you are and what value you bring on table, it gives you a lot of mental peace. So, they are directly linked. Okay, they are directly linked. That is first. Gender traits that the question talks about, of course, it's born out of the societal expectations. It is born out of how our culture has been. It is born out of our formative years and the mental conditioning that we have early on. So we need to break free from that. Okay, we need to break free. So, for example, there was a long time till when I thought that kitchen, household care, and groceries are things which are highly in the responsibility kit of a woman. I thought that, okay. And even if today at 45 I'm still handling that, I feel it is everybody's responsibility. A home belongs to everybody who lives in the house, right? Whether it is a man or whether it is a woman. So slowly you start growing out of the gender traits when society reduces in your mind, okay? The syndrome of wo char log, right? The syndrome of सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या कहेंगे वो चार लोग. So if those चार लोग come in my house and suddenly they see my husband making rotis, they will think, अरे इसको तो रोटी बनानी भी नहीं आती है. Now when that fear diminishes, let them think it is between me and my husband. I have an important session for the Heritage Institute and he is free, so he is doing the dinner right now. Maybe I'm taking the session. Whatever is the case, right? It's between us as a family. So the moment your society starts shrinking in your mind, your power to live increases. Period. Right? Challenge every gender code, challenge every gender trait. Be whatever you are comfortable in. That's it.
In fact, ma'am, thankfully we have advertisements in the Indian media scenario talking about the changing of gender roles. So, like Biba, for example, change the convention.
Like
So,
Ariel, for example, share the load.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. So we have another question from Shreya Mitra.
Yeah.
She
Can
asked,
you show it on the screen? Can you show the question on
Kamal
the
sir, could
screen?
you?
Yeah, yeah, I can see it. Okay,
Okay.
let me read it. I can see it. Shreya is saying, as you have said, that accept who you are. So, how can we ignore the external pressure before loving ourselves? Shreya, I said external pressure has to diminish, society has to diminish. Okay, the external pressure comes from random people, random relatives who are not going to fund your career, who are not going to pay your fees, who are not going to say that, oh Shreya, your entire, going abroad, study abroad program, we will fund, we will finance. So they are not going to do all that. So kaun hai ye external pressure? So you have to reduce the external pressure in your mind early on if you really, really need to grow. And I think the question has gone off. If we can flash it again, because there was part two about bullying, which was important. Can we do this at any moment, Navnita?
Yes, ma'am.
Mansi, Navnita.
Kamal sir,
Uh,
we have the question on
Can you
screen.
read the second part, the bullying wala?
Uh,
ma'am,
how
I'll read it.
about,
Yeah.
yes, Navneeta, go ahead.
So how can we ignore the external pressure before loving ourselves? How about the external bully we face from our peers, especially in childhood, which is the mental building stage of a child? How can we increase the body positivity?
Yes, so body positivity starts at home. If you are a body positive parent, your child will understand body positivity early on. But if in front of your child you are saying that, oh, my bulge is showing, oh, my skin has gone wrong, oh, I can't wear, sleeveless because my biceps are very bad, I look ugly. If you keep saying that, if you are a body shy mother, it will reflect on the child. If you're a body conscious father, it will reflect on your child. So first start the body positive attitude at home. Even if you have to tell the child to exercise because the child has to lose weight, you have to tell it from the fitness angle. You don't have to tell it that look at your friends, how slim they are, how fat you are, go and run. Instead, you can talk to the child about fitness, about health. Like, for example, when I was young, when I was in college, everybody wanted me to lose weight so that I will get married. That was the goal. Are you getting my point? That cannot be the goal, right? You have to lose weight because it will keep you active, it will keep you fit. So start body positivity at home. Make your child extremely confident about who he or she is. And one thing which is missing in our country, and I think in most countries, is lack of curriculum space for body positivity and mental health early in school. So in primary schools, in kindergartens, right, in nursery, over higher senior KG and junior KG, they should be taught right from that stage mental health and body positivity. period. But yours start from home.
So, fitness should be more of a work in progress, while body positivity should be instilled in each and every individual from the very start, right?
Yes, ideally.
Yes, absolutely, ma'am. So, we have a question from Shomdev. He asks that it is always said that boys are meant to hide emotions, never to speak out, or otherwise he is called names and not accepted. Do you think it
Of
makes
course, this
sense?
does not make sense. I can read it. Of course, Shomdev, it doesn't make any sense because before we become a man or a woman or a transgender or a third gender, we all are human beings with the same heart pumping in, with the same brain, with the same nervous system. So you have to show emotions, you have to cry, and hence certain gender coded stereotypes have to vanish from your generation. You are our torch bearers, the young people. You have to take the lead. So never tell a woman who is crying to men up. Okay, men up is an emotion which is saying that men is the stronger human, and when woman cries she's asked to men up. That is also wrong. Okay, or boys don't cry. Are you a girl that you are crying? That is also wrong because girls do not keep crying. So there is nothing called the weaker sex, there is nothing called the stronger sex. We all at the end of the day are human beings. We have a right to express our emotions, and crying and expressing emotions is a beautiful thing. In fact, I tell people that never say sorry if you get teary eyed when you watch something or you're in a movie or you're saying bye. And I'm getting goosebumps. Sorry, I'm saying this. But when you're on a railway station and you're saying bye to your best friend, if you're crying, it's a beautiful display that you are a human being and not a furniture, right? So never say sorry, never apologize for expressing yourself. So Shomdev, if I'm not wrong with the name, start by changing this in yourself, number one. And as a duty to the society, don't judge when you see other boys needing help or crying or feeling emotionally weak. इतना तो हम सब लोग कर ही सकते हैं, right? See, all of us cannot become Mother Teresa or Gautam Buddha. We cannot leave our houses and go on a social service or a social marathon. But within our spaces, like the day I became body positive, I said I will stop judging other women and girls around me because somewhere I was also laughing कि कितनी काली है, कैसे कलर का ड्रेस पहना है, ये पिंक थोड़ी ना उसकी स्किन पे सूट होगा. सो कॉन्शियसली यू आल्सो हैव टू चेंज, राइट? सो नेक्स्ट टाइम यू सी अ बॉय इमोशनल, just go and give a hug. That's it. Yeah.
Ma'am,
Do we have
in fact,
questions?
yes, ma'am. So, in fact, leading to the color pink here, we have another question by
Yeah.
Shreya again. What's your take on men can't wear pink or can't cry? Can't cry, we've already covered. A
Arey,
total one.
if you have stalked me on Instagram, you should not be asking this question. Anybody can wear anything. In fact, as a fashion blogger, I refuse to say tell people which lipstick will suit their skin type because there is no skin type. It's an industry-led marketing gimmick, right? Whichever lipstick you're confident to wear, you have a right to wear. So, as a professor, can I not wear a blue or a green lipstick or a black lipstick? Of course, I can wear. Does that make me a bad teacher? No, right? So, there is no skin code, there is no color code for genders. Please, boys, look all the more cuter in pastels, wear more pastels. We need to see more real men rather than, those Raymond suited safari men. We need to see more people who are in the real avatars. Okay, so whether men or a woman, whether mother or not a mother, whether professor or a doctor, please wear whatever you want to wear. This goes even beyond. So the moment you become a mother, does that mean you should be the sacrificing types? Of course not. Having a baby does not mean you put yourself on priority too. You are still your first priority, and that does not mean you don't love your child. Similarly, having an independent life does not mean I don't love my husband. I do, but I absolutely love my individuality as well, right? So I cannot be in a 365 days married avatar. Some days I need to feel unmarried, and there's nothing harm in that. So if I go on a solo trip with my best friend, does it mean I'm not happily married? Of course I'm happily married, right? These are codes given to us either by society or marketing gimmicks created by industry. We have to come out of it. Next time you go to a girl's birthday party, refuse to give her a Barbie doll or a makeup set or a fashion kit or a kitchen set. Do not give a kitchen set because it's a very gendered gift. Instead, give a kitchen set to the boy because he may want to go to MasterChef Australia, right? And give a truck to the girl. So, who created this? Of course, an industry that benefits from your deep wallets.
Ma'am, we take a final question by Argadev.
Maybe, yeah, one last question because my father in law and my husband both are waiting for dinner, okay, to have it together. So, one last
Sure, ma'am.
question.
Are the beauty pageants somehow diminishing the plus size concept or by just taking women who are slim and fit? The question is
Of
this
course,
way.
they are. Beauty pageants have contributed a lot to making women more insecure. All those models that we see on the ramp walks, मतलब दिल में हमें पता है कि please give some food to them. You know, they look malnourished. Huh? But दिल में हमें पता है. But in our mind, it is creating lot of insecurities. All your fashion week models, all your beauty pageants have created a lot of harm on the body positivity space, and definitely they are to be blamed. Definitely.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much for your inspiring words. I'm sure they
Pleasure.
have inspired each and every one here present. And now I'd like
I
to
just
invite.
hope, at least, I just hope that some of you wake up feeling comfortable in your skin tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. Ma'am, now I'd like to invite Dr. Bakshi, our Dean, to speak a few words, ma'am.
I will certainly do Falguni because I'm always on a diet, and my colleagues know that, and that I'm always trying to fight that bulge. The moment I look at the mirror, and it seems, why am I not in my pre-marriage shape? Though it's been 29 years, and why do I want to go back to that pre-marriage shape? God knows, but it is somewhere
Yes.
in my mind. So those preconceived notions that we stay with all our life,
Yeah.
that kills us, but thankfully you are there, and that's why you're so very important for the students, that you at least took that bold step and to step out and say that a professor can also wear a black lipstick, because every morning when we are step into the role of professor, we are always
Yes.
looking at that framework of ideals, and we want to be that
Yeah.
ideal that everyone has to be followed. The moment we are afraid that we are going to step something wrong, and Falguni is a brilliant speaker. She's a TEDx speaker. She has been in MICA, I think, more than 20 years now. And I met her almost in one of those foreign conferences only, and we have become friends since. And she always
Yes.
keeps my requests whenever I have asked her to come to Calcutta or to speak to my colleagues. Thank you so much. Be there for us. Maybe soon we can invite you to campus also. Thank you.
Always looking forward to be in Kolkata and eating mishti doi and puchkas. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. We would love to come most to you. We will soon. My colleagues would also want to you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.